Hello and welcome to the My Philosophy Corner. I am Steve and say hello to Derek. Yeah. Okay, so we'll just start with a short lecture on some of the things I've been thinking about. Hopefully, I can piece it together quite coherently. But do apologize if it's a little bit muddled at the start. So I know you've been asking me about what is metaphysics. You asked me like, what is metaphysics? Has it got something to do with physics? And yes, it does. It does in a way that when the Greeks wrote the physics, the metaphysics came out. It was a chapter that came after it, so that's why they call it metaphysics. But I think the idea is that it's all together, as in you cannot explain reality with just the physics or just the metaphysics. Let me delve into a little bit more, but I'm talking also in terms of the Eastern philosophical terminology, which can be confusing. So let me kind of tell you how it's been translated by the Japanese. So that Japanese translated metaphysics as 형이상학. So and physics as 형이하자. So as you can see, the 형 is the common. 형 just means form, whether it's form of the things you can see or form of the things you cannot see. And normally they think sang, which is above, they think this is the higher knowledge, and ha, lower, they think it's lower knowledge, but may not be the case. But let's introduce a couple more concepts here. So I'm not sure if you know this word. This is li or yi. This is I think the Chinese when they say science, they don't say 과학, they don't say 科学, they say 力学. So it's a study of the li, study of the principles. So think of this as a principle, and this, as you know, qi or qi. This is the energy. Now you can start kind of linking to it, like, okay, physics deals with the energy. Energy is something that causes change, causes movement, kinetic energy, potential energy, electricity, everything. Li is the sort of the principle in the background that allows these things to move. So Aristotle called it the prime mover. He was thinking like, if something moves, right, and we can see the change, you can see it moving, what caused it in the beginning? If this causes this thing to move, what causes this to move? Like he's trying to think of what he called the prime mover, prime, the first mover. And so he then kind of links it back to God because that's just the word, that the prime mover. So as you can already see that this word metaphysics in either tradition is talking about something that is the source, the metaphysics. Now, one more concept I will add to this is this word here. Now, in Korean, this has the same pronunciation. This is ki. Ki as in 그릇기. This means a dish or bowl, right? And this one is, as you know, do, like a taekwondo, judo, kendo, do, right? Do. And you can see how that links together. Do is sort of the supreme or sort of the higher principle in which you are supposed to interact. And ki is like the tools that you use that to build things with, right? That helps you, that are useful for you. Now, let me just say some realization I want to share is that I used to be very focused in the martial arts. And as you know, martial art is written like this. All right. So Budo or Budo, 무술, Budo. And you know, also people say 무술 or bujutsu. 술 is lower than do. So you have jujitsu, which is sul, yusul, and then judo, which is do. There's that distinction. So you can already see that people kind of consider do as something like quite esoteric, something profound, something supreme, right? Higher, superior knowledge or sort of principle. Now, if you follow this one, so this is an example, right? It could be any do, but I chose bu, and then if you apply to this one, what you get is quite interesting. Buki, Buki, weapon. It's weapon, right? So, following this, Buki is the the weapon, right? Martial art weapon, Buki, right? The tools you use to protect yourself, right? Like spears, arrows, things like that. And Budo is the sort of the idea, the principle behind how to use it. You heard of the saying where people say, oh, knife, you give it to a surgeon, he does surgery, saves lives. Knife, same knife, you give it to a gangster, he will kill people, right? Death. So it's kind of like that. This is a tool. This is the sort of the principle that governs the tool. And my point is that personally, but I can kind of pinpoint to the sort of cultural discourse that has kind of made this one supreme. I don't know if you watched that video of Helen Clark that I posted yesterday. She kept talking about principled approach to international relations, right? The New Zealand has to, follow the principle and draw the line. Kind of sounds very independent and reasonable. However, I think if politicians keep talking about those principles, it's kind of like you have this moral high ground. This is the moral high ground here. Go is the moral high ground. And what you begin to sort of ignore or disregard is the capacity to protect and defend yourself. You know what I mean? Like when I do martial arts, I'm kind of like in my head, I'm like, yeah, I do martial art not to like go and beat people up. I do martial arts so that I can protect myself and help people who are being attacked. I can step in and protect them. That's all good. That's the moral high ground. But what happens if you don't have the tools? What are the tools for the martial artist? Fist, hard as an iron fist, Bruce Lee. Or you think about it, like you go to the gym, you might have some sort of higher principle, like you want to look strong and healthy so that when other people come to the gym and look at you, they're like, oh yeah, I want to be like that guy, get motivated. But you cannot motivate anyone if you don't have the guns, right? If you don't have the guns, no one's gonna look at you and be like, oh yeah, I want to be like that guy. So what I'm saying is that for me personally, I've been interested in martial arts for a very long time since a young age. I kind of neglected this and sort of went on to this philosophy. So what does this look like? This is basically the hardware, right? The body, the tools. And maybe, just maybe, because when you are smaller, and you're not confident about the hardware you have, maybe that's what makes people kind of look at this one and take on the moral high ground. There's this novel by Lu Xun, the Chinese, called AQ Zhangzhen, and I just know roughly that he was beaten, in a fight. Boom, boom. He was beaten down, and then he get up, and then I won in my head. You know what I mean? 정신적 승리. He's a loser, but he's saying I'm a victor in my head. There was a sort of a analogy to how China was beaten down by the Western weapon. You know, when America came to Japan, they brought big guns, big ships, big cannons, and samurais with the little sword. They're like, no way, open up. So I think this kind of tells you where this history is going. So I've been listening to some YouTubes, and people are saying that the Western civilization is great because of its weapons, right? And well, they were the victors. Americans were the victors of a two world war in the last century, and I think so. I think weapons is very important. Basically, military. You know, I went to the Korean Army, and during that time, I always wondering like, what can I do to, what is this knowledge that I need in order to become a military officer? I mean, I was thinking about that. Like, how can I, what is the science that I need to learn in order to become a military professional? And I went into bookshops and tried to look for like, is there any like book on military? And I could only find the classics like The Art of War. And then am I supposed, is this like a text? Basically, I wanted to go to a military academy and I wanted to know what the curriculum was so I could kind of maybe consider going down that path. But I sort of maybe brushed past the aisle where they had all these weapons. You know, I'm talking about fighter planes, carriers, and things like that. That never really interested me. And I also remember like Mr. Thomas in math, he had like this posters. I don't know if you remember, he had posters up on the wall of these different World War planes, these like different planes, the one with propeller. And, these people have this memory. They have this history from their grandparents or parents of having fought in a war where they had superior advantage because of the weapons. I mean, obviously, Churchill had a great inspirational speech that led them to victory, but I think it comes down to weapons. So, submarines and all of that. So, basically, I'm kind of like, okay, there's one big blind spot for all these years, and that is the weapons and military. Because, and another key topic that has, I wouldn't say bugged me, but it's something that's always on my mind is what's happening with the Korean peninsula, like the prospect of reunification. What's going on here? The answer's here. Weapons, military. More specifically, nukes. Okay. Now, actually, this is all over the headlines. It's always Kim Jong-un playing with nukes, building nukes, firing missiles, whatever. Right. But to me, someone who's been, and here, Auntie Helen, yeah. I grew up in New Zealand, so I was under the impression that we need to have this moral high ground. No weapons, no nukes, nuclear-free zone, New Zealand, yeah. So that's why I kind of thought, I never really thought that this would change the game. This is the major factor, the variable that can alter the whole situation, recalibrate the whole geopolitics. So, yeah, so let's get to realism. Let's get realistic. Let's get down to the realistics of what we're talking about. They've been talking for years, right? And I've missed it. I've been sleeping through all of it. So let's wake up. Okay, nukes. What can we talk about nukes? Well, there's some people say, especially the YouTube that I will watch, the mom and dad watching that one. He's saying that there will be some changes here. Briefly, that Korea have a nuclear power station, and what they're going to do is they're going to build SMR, small modular reactor. And funnily enough, Australia, especially this part of Australia, they're not going to build that, but they're talking about subs, nuclear subs. They're going to help the Americans build this one right here. So and I think the next government in Australia will be the opposition, which is sort of right-wing, center-right, and they may align themselves more with America under Trump. But what would happen is that these things get built, and what happens is, as you know, people are talking about clean energy, right? Renewable energy, and the nuclear power station is not quite clean energy. They produce lots of nuclear waste. However, this nuclear waste can be used to power the subs, nuclear subs. And nuclear subs can run for 30, 40 years. No fuel, no refuel required. Just make the sub, put the battery, nuclear battery, and it lasts for 30, 40 years. That's what they're saying. And Korea at the moment has a big nuclear station. This is small modular reactor. Korea has the big nuclear power station that Australia probably will never get because they're not very good. But the waste there can be used easily to make bomb. That's why America is not letting South Korea to, they want any nuclear waste either to store it or send it overseas to another country where they can, process it. They don't allow Korean to process it. If they do, we can easily build a bomb. We already have the capacity and technology to do that. It's because they don't trust us. Because politically, there's some, maybe the Yoon's government probably wanted to go ahead with South Korea having a nuclear bomb so that they could be more on an equal standing with the North. But I think Trump or Biden, no one in America will probably allow that. I mean, yeah. So they need to negotiate to have the processing capacity ticked, and then they can build nuclear subs. So anyway, so what I'm saying is that this whole idea is now getting me very interested in this military knowledge and to follow the global politics and the trends through military spending, military. People kind of think, oh, why did Donald Trump get elected, you know? And some people think, oh, that's because of the culture war, you know, he won in the culture war. But that is within the domestic politics. Internationally, obviously, America plays a big role in either stabilizing or destabilizing the global order. So the foreign policy can also dictate who is more favored. Not everyone thinks like that. Average Joe probably wouldn't think of, oh yeah, we need to vote Trump because he can end the Ukraine war. No, they probably vote Trump for other reasons, right? But the more elite you are, you're probably thinking along those lines. And when you talk about foreign policy, right? Military, right? You can't negotiate with anyone if you don't have the firepower, right? If you don't have the tools, right? It's no good just being, you know, talking head. No. So, so follow along the global trend through the lens of military is a pretty good bet, especially if you're interested in investment. Here's a tip. But anyways, people think that hydrogen gas, right? Hydrogen cars, it's a new fuel for the future, right? So anyway, so this is all very competitive. You have to think this global order is very competitive. Every state, every country is acting in their own interest, and you know, competition. You know, and in order to win, what do you need? You need the muscle to win. So I think New Zealand is yeah. And finally, to sort of come back to this talk more, why is this important? Well, you may have heard of this idea where you have a bowl, an urn, and then you fill it up with water. And then, this is in a Korean movie, there's a hole. So they keep putting water and it can never fill up. Do you remember that? And then one guy said, "Oh, I know." And then he take the bowl and then he throws it in the river, right? So what I kind of went with this was that yeah, the kurut is the yeah, and then the do is like water. That's why Bruce Lee said, "Be like water." He's talking about the water here, be like water. It means put yourself in the dough, in the principle, right? That's his philosophy. But I think that's, yeah, people say that is the Asian philosophy, Eastern philosophy. But as you know, the Western philosophy is like, well, you patch this shit up, man. Yeah. It's always the take the protein gains, you know? So it's just that I feel like I've been going in the wrong direction all of my life because of this sort of the Eastern philosophy where they put primacy on the dough, right? And the New Zealand politics where they, principled approach. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying that you need to think about the body, the physics, uh, the tools, right? They go with both, right? It's distinguishable. They're distinguishable, right? It's distinguishable. You know what I mean by Li and Qi and Do and Qi, the mind and body, whatever. You can put whatever you want. There are these things that are quite distinguishable, right? But it's one. It's inseparable. Distinguishable but inseparable. But also the Western philosophy, the problem is they try to separate it. Mind, body, separate. It's inseparable. I mean, so that's another pitfall. So what I'm saying, there's so many pitfalls that you sort of take it in, and you kind of live through it with using it, and you realize sometimes all these ideas may not need to be refined. They're not by themselves as that useful. So that's what I've realized. There are some things that need to be refined, mm, such as the mind body is no need to, because the modern science is always trying to separate it, right? If you cannot measure it, if you cannot see it, if it's not falsifiable, you cannot prove it wrong, well, then it doesn't exist in the physical sense. You're talking about the metaphysics. Um, so hopefully that will just help you to that. And yeah. So any questions?
Nope.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
Good presentation.
Well, I should complement this with the projector. So next time I'll have a projector, and then I can like flip the slide and then sort of kind of point to some things, and that kind of thing. This is kind of messy, yeah. But that will be coming up in the next session.
Cool. Cool. So yeah, nice. What was the title of this presentation?
I don't know, just metaphysics or
Yeah.
the yeah, military, yeah.
Cool. Righty ho, righty ho.
Well, got 10 minutes. Yeah. Anything you'd like to discuss?
I don't know. Think everything makes sense.
Okay. Well, I mean, I can always sort of make it more structured by just like going through the book, like the philosophy book. I could start introducing one philosopher at a time, from Pythagoras and you know,
Yeah, you gonna show this to mom?
I'll upload it.
Yeah. Yeah, so stop recording.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.